Has G-Wolves actually finally done it? And they've made a high quality mouse. For me, when I get a new G-Wolves mouse, the main thing that I want to focus on, that I'm the most interested in, is how is the quality. And that should be important for you guys as well, especially when you use your own money to get a G-Wolves mouse. So let's take a deep dive on that one. First of all, there is slight rattle when you shake the mouse. The mouse also creaks when you squeeze it, but you need to use quite a bit of force. And there is quite a bit of side flex, and you can actuate the side buttons. And to be honest, I'm not really using that much force. But that never happened to me in game, and I do not get any creaking or rattle when I just game. The main mouse buttons have some side play when I force it, but nothing that would happen in real situations. So again, in game this does not bother me whatsoever. Overall, the button feeling on this mouse is very nice. These are light to actuate and easy to spam, of course, and they are crispy and tactile as well. There is quite a bit of post travel and a lot of pre-travel, but this does not bother me in-game whatsoever. It just makes the clicks feel a little bit softer. Overall, these have to be the best hati-s clicks I've tried. The side buttons are snappy and tactile, and they do not have that much pre and post travel. These are overall good side buttons in-game and in general use. The scroll wheel feels pretty good, it's quite smooth, has still somewhat defined steps, and it's very light. And the button itself requires sort of a medium force to actuate. I've never complained about this before, and I've never actually even noticed it, but the power switch on the hati-s wireless is quite low quality. It's too small, so it kind of moves around in there, and sometimes when it's diagonally placed, it requires a lot of force to actuate. So you just need to move it around a little bit so it's easier to toggle. With the previous hati-s wireless, my mouse did creak a lot when I plugged in the charging cable. But there is at least none of that now. The shell itself is translucent and it looks nice, but I myself do not enjoy the holes or the plastic itself whatsoever. It kind of feels cheap to me, so it's good that G-Wolves does include the grip tapes. Now these are the best included grip tapes that I've tried. It's kind of funny that they focused more on the quality of the grips than the quality of the mouse. The mouse feet on the wireless hati-s Ace Edition are pure PTFE, and there are 2 small feet at the front and 1 large feet at the back. It is very good with all the mouse pads that I have tried. These do not feel too slow with any control pads that I have here, but they do feel quite a bit rougher on the Artisan high-end than the Rocket Con Pro Air feet, for example. But that's not really an issue for me. I would say that these are good enough feet so that you do not need to replace these, and you also get a spare set. The shape of the hati-s is most likely fairly familiar for most of you guys, but I'll quickly go through for what kind of hands and what grip style I do think this is good for. I have 19x10cm hands myself, and the hati-s wireless does feel very good for claw with my hand size. I like it for aggressive claw and even relaxed claw. I also enjoy pincher claw grip in the mouse, as the hump is fairly pronounced and wide on the back of the mouse. It's also good for fingertip grip, but some people with small hands might prefer something thinner. But it works well for medium and large hands. Palm grip could be okay, but not if your hands are longer than 18cm. A lot of people say that the hati-s wireless is just a small super light, but it's not that accurate in my opinion, as the sides on the hati-s wireless are way more curved than on the super light. The hump is also a little bit wider than on the super light, but it does feel somewhat familiar from that. In regards of size, there are not that many mice that are in the same size category, especially in considering wireless mice, but the Symmetrical 2 fits that. The Razor Viper mini shape just has a less pronounced hump and it's longer and it's also thinner. The Mudlow Minus wireless is sort of similar size category, but it's way lower profile, which makes it feel a lot smaller in hand. The Prime Mini wireless then again is surprisingly similar in terms of hand feel, but it's of course an asymmetrical mouse, and these will never feel exactly like symmetrical mice do. Considering wired options for the hati-s wireless, the Ultralight 2 is fairly similar. It has a less pronounced hump and it's overall a little bit smaller. I'd say for anybody with large hands, the hati-s wireless is going to be the better option in terms of claw grip, and maybe even for fingertip grip, but I personally enjoy the Ultralight 2 shape these days a little bit more than the hati-s. For claw, pincher claw and fingertip grip. Moving on to the sensor, and that's the 3370 from Pixar, and the G-Wolves implementation of it seems to be very good here. For example, the lift-off distance is under 1 dVd and it has no perceivable motion delay. The polling rate rate is also stable and the DPI deviation is in normal range. The motion delay difference is actually pretty much non-existent versus the Superlight, and it seems to be pretty much the same implementation as on the X-Lite wireless, so this is very top tier. I'm very happy to see that G-Wolves has managed to improve the performance from the old iteration of the hati-s wireless. The click latency is also very good. I measured it to be about 1 to 3 milliseconds worse than the Superlight, and you most likely will not feel any kind of difference between these two mice. Keep in mind that the debounce setting does affect click latency on the hati-s wireless, so you should definitely use the mouse with 0 millisecond option. You can clearly see the difference from these results where I use 0 millisecond option and 11 millisecond option. The battery life seems to be decent. I can use the mouse for about 4 days without charging it. Of course, the mouse has very limited RGB, so that will help. The pricing of the mouse seems to be 120 euros or dollars in max gaming, and if we ignore the shape, it's pretty hard for me to argue that this mouse is worth that much. The quality just does not match some of the top tier mice that I have here. For example, the new Glorious mice, the Vaxi mice, Zowie mice, SteelSeries Prime series, and even the Pulsar X-Lite. And there are plenty more. That being said, the quality is not bad by any means this time around, as none of these issues bother me in game. And the performance is also very good, as it is on most of these 3370 wireless mice. The mouse also looks very good, as I do like this translucent shell. And you get a lot of stuff on the box as well, but I would rather have them sell it for 90 euros or dollars and set some competition for the X-Lite wireless in terms of bang for buck. I can of course aim very well with this mouse, and I do think that it's one of the better performers that I have here. I find some shapes lacking in some specific gaming scenarios. For example, with the Model O minus wireless I could not micro adjust very well. But with the hati-s wireless Ace I had none of those issues, and it's very good for any kind of aiming. For example, micro adjusting, vertical aiming, flick shots and tracking. G-Wolves always seems to have quite a lot in the works. For example, at the moment they're at least working on the hati-s Plus. This seems to be the wired version, but I've seen some tweets about the wireless as well. This revision seems to be very low weight, but I would rather have them focus on build quality than the low weight. In terms of the dimensions, it does seem very interesting to me, as it seems to be just a little bit longer hati-s. This increase in length might be very good for you guys who prefer relaxed glow, and I think it will be good for me as well. And the mouse also seems to have no holes, which might make the feeling a little bit more premium, and that's always a plus. The funny thing about G-Wolves is that they work on a lot of different things, but they do not sell a lot of mice. I've got no clue when the hati-s Ace wireless version is going to be for sale. They got the HSK, the HSK wireless, the HSK Plus, the hati-s Plus. They've got a bunch of stuff in the pipeline. Maybe just focus on a few things and get those out for sale and then go from that. My last words are that this is now the best G-Wolves product that I have tried, and I would not feel horrible paying 120 euros for this because I like the shape and the performance is good. But it still is quite a bit overpriced. Overall, there is a lot of positives for this mouse. The click latency is very good, the wireless implementation is very good, the mouse feet are very good, the mouse is very low weight, and the clicks feel overall very good. But that's pretty much it. The next video will be about my personal top performing mice. Check this wireless roundup right here if you want to see a couple of mice that are probably in that video. One of those is most likely my new main, but check this video right here if you want to see my old main, which is the Outset AX of course. It's possibly my favorite mouse of all time. I've just used it for too long and I'm bored of it already. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you enjoy my content, hit that subscribe button, and see you in the next one.